then. I'm going to show you a beach and you tell me where you would swim. Here's a beach. Where would you swim? Write it down or shout it out so you don't forget. How about this picture? Where would you swim? Remember your answers and we'll find out later how you went. Because the uncomfortable truth is, most of us have no real idea about rips. And the figures distressingly bear this out. Over 20 rip drownings in Australia every summer. Yet research is showing most of us have picked up a woeful mix of rip myths and half-truths. So prick up your ears because there's a major new scientific push to help you avoid or survive a rip. It's called the Rip Survivor Study, and the man behind it is Dr. Rob Brander.
So I'm just going to show you this picture. If you went to a beach...
He's long suspected Australians think rips are something that happened to someone else.
Yeah. Who do you think is actually getting caught in rips?
Tourists.
Tourists, probably.
I think us Australians are quite wise.
So Rob's team went to 2 beaches where Australian residents holiday and gave them this test.
Can you point to where you would swim if you showed up at this beach?
Well, I would probably go more there.
The test you just did is part of it. The answer is you should swim at sea because A is a whopping great rip. And so is this. Well done if you got it right, because to Rob's horror, almost half of all Aussies didn't.
Probably here. I've got no idea.
Yeah, okay.
Right there.
The really scary things, we said, look, where would you swim in this picture? 50% of them pointed at the rip, and that was not good.
All of which helps explain this.
There was no flags, but there's a group of people swimming and you have to figure, well, that must be the safe place. But I just found myself about 50 metres further up the shore, and then it started to get scary. The only advice I could remember was to swim parallel with the beach. It didn't seem to work. And so I just swam as hard as I could, get sore, run out of breath, start swimming. Didn't happen, and I just decided to give backstroke a go. Once I got out, I just about collapsed. Except that was the exact moment my girlfriend was getting towed out. I could see the look on her face, and I still remember it today. Terror. And I've yelled out to her, do backstroke, because, that's what seemed to work for me. And she came in, pulled her up onto the sand, and then it was like, bang. You just feel completely exhausted. She was pretty upset, yeah.
And the weird thing was, once they recovered, he could see the rip.
And you could see the dark blue water that we were stuck in, and it was clear as day. Because before that, never thought for a second that's a rip. Never even got my attention.
He'd been sucked in by one of the biggest rip myths.
I always heard somewhere that the sand would be churned up.
In fact, it's the dark green, calm-looking water between the waves that are the most common rips. That's because the water that comes in with a wave has to head back out. Surfers know this. The rest of us, it seems, mostly don't. It's stories like Scott's that Rob is now collecting for Phase 2 of the Rip Survivor Study. He's finding out who gets caught, why they get caught, and how they got out.
So if you did get caught in a rip current, what would you do?
I would swim across it. I would swim parallel to the beach.
Because the biggest debate in life-saving circles worldwide now is whether we've been given the wrong advice.
These are the drifters.
A debate that was fueled by an astonishing piece of research, which we're about to repeat.
GPS going in?
Yep, GPS is in, it's on. Waterproof case is locked, so that one's ready to go as well.
All right, let's put them in the rips.
Okay.
The rips here at Bondi Beach fall into a classic pattern, one at each headland and 3 in between in semi-permanent channels.
But we'll have to go out a fair ways.
So let's see what they actually do.
And off they go.
Little beauties.
And it's slow, but it's going.
But watch closely what happens next.
Now they're starting to turn the corner. So
Yeah, they're turning. Look, they're really travelling now, sideways. Did you see that? They're all actually coming in now in a neat little line, like ducklings.
all 6
Look at them, they're all in.
all 6 have gone out, and all 6 have come back in.
Prior to this, the textbooks have said all rips feed out behind the waves. But in 2010, an American published this exact study of a US beach and showed to everyone's shock that instead, the rip usually circles inside the wave break.
Look at that. Out they go again.
Yeah, so this rip is clearly recirculating, all of them.
This happens 90% of the time, and it has real implications for the swim parallel advice we've all been given. Because the problem is, rips and feeder currents can also run parallel to the beach. So if you accidentally swim against them, like Scott did, you're in a fight for your life.
The implications, of course, are, well, maybe you don't want to swim your guts out to get out of the rip when all you have to do is stay afloat, and within a matter of minutes, you'll end up safe and sound in the sandbar.
So let's put it to the test. Swim parallel or float.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right.
Quite relaxing, really. And lo and behold, we eventually come full circle, just like the GPS drifters.
How long did that take, Rob?
Yeah, I reckon that took about 8 minutes.
It's pretty slow.
Now we swim parallel,
Okay, let's swim.
half in one direction, half in the other.
This is a bit harder.
Well, I'm fighting a feeder current, but look at the guys who went the other way. They're already on a sandbar and out.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I ended up really swimming against it at one point.
Yeah, one group who swam south had it a lot easier than we did, because we were going against the feeder current.
Yeah.
That's what often happens. It depends on which way you swim.
So, for the average swimmer who may not be good at identifying currents, floating may be the best, at least until you can work out where the waves are that will help you in and swim toward them. Bearing in mind about 10% of the time, the rip won't bring you back by itself, though even then it won't go much past the back waves.
People drown because they panic. Swim parallel is great if you're a good swimmer, but if you're not a good swimmer, it's my personal perspective, as long as you're afloat, you're alive.
It's way too early to say what will come out of this important research, which will roll out over the next few years, or even whether rip advice will change. But here at Catalyst, we'll try to keep you abreast of developments. And if you are a rip survivor, Rob asks you to join their online study. And in the meantime, there's one really important thing every one of you can do.
Just learn to play Spot the Rip. It's a simple game, fun for the whole family. Every time you see a beach, spot the rips.
That way, if there are no flags, you won't get caught.